It was just about 3 months after we got Osama bin Laden. August 6, 2011, Operation Lefty Grove is underway, a highly dangerous mission to take out another high-level Taliban operative. In the pitch black dark of night, 25 special ops forces and a 5-man flight crew board Extortion 17, a CH-47 Chinook helicopter. 7 unidentified Afghan commandos are allowed to join them. Ground forces have been engaged in a 3-hour intensive battle already. Extortion 17 specially trained warriors drop into the hot landing zone to help their fellow warriors. But there's a problem. The standard chopper escorts have all been directed elsewhere. Mission directions unclear. Worse, pre-assault fire to cover the Chinook transporting our brave fighting men is not ordered. Extortion 17 comes into the landing in this hot spot for terrorism. The Taliban shoots down the chopper. There are no survivors. And 30 Americans get killed. 25 are special ops. And one of those warriors killed was Navy SEAL Aaron Vaughn and his father, Billy Vaughn, along with our friend General Paul Vallely, chairman of Stand Up America, have co-authored a book called Betrayed, Exposing the High Costs of the War on Terror. That book is not out yet, but they are talking about it, and we'll tell you how you could get it. General and Mr. Vaughn, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure. Of course, General, you're a good friend of the show and a friend of mine, and we mourn your loss, Mr. Vaughn. And General, why don't you tell us how this book came about and what the purpose of it is?
Well, Billy Vaughn and Karen Vaughn and I have been in touch with each other for over a year. And so when Billy first contacted me, we talked about Extortion 17 and some of the experiences he had after Aaron was returned to the United States in Dover along with the other casualties that during their debrief from the military, many questions started to come up as to what really happened over there. And I think Billy and Karen got a sense that things weren't as they were told. And so as we progressed over the last year, we've been gathering information, almost 1,200 pages of redacted paperwork from the investigation and reports, as well as Billy's meeting and Karen's meeting with some of the senior military. So what we came up with is this was pretty much a cover-up, a very badly put together tactical operation for a rescue of some Marines who we found out really weren't in that much danger. They'd been in a 3.5-hour firefight already, but that this whole thing was put together and may have well been an established ambush by the Taliban in response to SEAL Team 6 taking out bin Laden 3 months earlier.
Now, Billy, your son, of course, one of the heroes who lost his life on that night. Do you believe, and in the book Betrayal, is it discussed that I think it was Joe Biden who gave away the fact that SEAL Team 6 was involved in getting bin Laden, which basically I would imagine put a target on their backs? And then how do they account for? How is the military accounted for? The administration accounted for? Anybody that you've asked about? The lack of procedure being followed. First of all, the Afghan commandos being involved, the lack of the escort, the lack of the support, the helicopters that would provide support being turned back and told to go away. What's their explanation for this kind of behavior?
Well, Steve, let's back up to Vice President Biden for a moment. We do know it's a fact. It's out there. It's been said by people a lot more important and higher ranking in our U.S. government than me that the Vice President committed a breach of national security, and never before had the SEALs or any special operators, for that matter, been identified. I understand after they had completed a raid, and Secretary of Defense Gates came out and said, because this has happened, that special operators all over the country feel like their lives are threatened. Our son actually called Karen shortly after, within a day or two after Vice President Biden outed the Navy SEALs, and said, Mom, you got to get everything about any information about us off social media. You got to shut your social media down. He said there's chatter. Our lives are being threatened. Our lives are threatened, and in fact, Mom, your life is in danger, and all the family. This is directly because of Vice President Joe Biden, when an agreement had been made not to give the details. Now, along to the military a little bit, they were forthcoming early with the information, and as the general said, and we have found that things have been covered up. They were not told. The 7 Afghans on board, for instance, there were 7 Afghan commandos, but we know for a fact, told by the military later on, that they were changed out at the last moment. Now, to this point, and just to tell you why I'm not still talking to military, we found out very early on, not to high-ranking military at least, we have many retired SEALs and retired Rangers who have come forward and told us things that are very disturbing, not just particularly about the operation that where Extortion 17 was involved, but about the way that our forces are operating over there and how our men are being put in needless danger because of these rules of engagement. But the 7 Afghans were changed out at the last minute, and as I said, we've quit talking to high-ranking military because we've found that they have not told us the truth about specific questions that we have asked. Very early on, someone in Washington, D.C., high-ranking military official, talked to my congressman, mine and Karen's congressman in our district here in Florida at the time, and we were told in the debriefing it was absolutely because of the rules of engagement that the chopper, after the chopper was shot down, that the men who fired the RPGs were not taken out because of the rules of engagement. There might be friendlies in the building. That's documented in the 1,200 pages, but somebody in the military told our congressman they didn't know where the shots came from. So we became very suspicious of talking to high-ranking military at that time, not knowing who it was.
That is amazing. We're talking to General Paul E Vallely, chairman of Stand Up America, and Billy Vaughn, who lost his Navy SEAL son, Aaron Vaughn, and they have, along with Billy's wife, have co-authored Betrayed, Exposing the High Costs of the War on Terror. General, I mean, this all stinks to high heaven. It also, though, coincides with the fact that we're, our military, this president said, I think early on with regard to Afghanistan, I don't like to talk about victory because it evokes images of Emperor Hirohito coming down and signing a peace treaty, which of course, a surrender agreement, which of course he never came down and signed. And then he talks about, of course, how the Taliban is not our enemy. And as you talk about in your book, we've just gone away from trying to win wars and kill the enemy and to try to make them like us.
Well, that's true, and the tremendous amount of resources, human resources, killed, wounded, as well as the financial resources that we've put into the Middle East. It's been like a giant sponge, and there's nothing in return for it to the American people. I did want to point out, Steve, we do have a website. It's called specialopsbetrayed.com. And the book is on a pre-order status right now through the rest of July. It's specialopsbetrayed.com.
Great.
They can find more of the story there and order the book if they'd like to buy one ahead of time.
So what do you guys, Billy, what do you think happened here? Was this, A, an unnecessary mission? And if it was, why was it done? And B, I mean, because don't forget, and I know you'll never forget, but I want the people to understand this. I mean, Barack Obama, this is what has always struck me. This is what struck me about the helicopter going down with your son on it when it happened. I said almost immediately when I was doing my WOR radio show, I said, I don't get something here. I really don't understand. I said, Obama had to sleep on it and hem and haw and for, should we send the SEALs in, our most elite forces in to get bin Laden? What if something goes wrong? What if somebody gets killed? But here he had no qualms about, and I'm sure he wasn't even involved. They sent this helicopter. for a real non-emergency, our troops for a non-emergency battle in the middle of the night without preparations? I don't understand how that could happen after we were told about how high level something like getting bin Laden was out of fear of someone getting killed.
Well, I think that's an excellent point, Steve. I think the difference in the two raids is that bin Laden was such a high-profile raid,
right?
That that if anything did happen, obviously the whole world was going to know.
Right.
On the other hand, this raid this night had become not just for the Navy SEALs. You have to understand, not just for the Navy SEALs, but also for the Army Rangers, because of the stepped-up number of operations being done in Afghanistan from 2009 up until 2011, when Aaron and those guys were killed. The stepped-up number of operations had increased so much under Obama's, quote, relentless pursuit of the enemy, that this was not an isolated incident, only in the fact that the chopper was shot down. They had begun to operate this way, sending Rangers, sending SEALs, sending special operators out in National Guard choppers, because we don't have enough special operations choppers. And by the way, I want to make it clear that the Army, the National Guard, the Army Reserves that were on that chopper that night, those were brave men, just like my son.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that somebody high up, maybe even in the White House, I don't know, but somebody high up made the decision not just to send that chopper out that night, but to make this as a normal way of operation, putting conventional general purpose forces, if you will, and special forces together in the theater for the first time. No training in the United States, no training together anywhere else in the world, both vitally important to the security of our nations, but both in their own way.
That is incredible, Billy. Listen, once the book does come out, we'll have you both back on. If you're both in the city, or either one of you are in the city, I'd love to have you stop up the studio and do a half hour. SpecialOpsBetrayed.com is the website. You could order the book, pre-order the book. SpecialOpsBetrayed.com. My friend General Paul Vallely and Billy Vaughn. Billy and General, thank you so very much, and nothing but the best. And thank you for writing this. It needs